Hello, fantastic to see you and great to have you with me. If you are looking to change your financial situation, then you have no doubt heard of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And if you haven't, then, or even if you have, I would like to share with you in this video my top 5 takeaways from reading the book. If it is your first time here, I'm Melanie Weber and my channel is all about helping people, everyday people, achieve the lifestyle and the income in order to live their greatest life ever, to live their true potential of what they were made to do. So if that sounds extremely exciting to you, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss out on a thing about how you can do just that. Okay, so Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, as I said, is one of the world's top bestsellers, particularly in the finance arena. Now, if you haven't heard of this book, what it is all about is Robert talks about the importance of having financial freedom and building your wealth. He highlights that through practical, actionable steps, and he uses the comparisons between his 2 dads that he had as he was growing up. Now, I'm not going to get into Robert's family tree, but the 2 dads that he had was his poor dad was actually the most educated by today's standards, in that it was his natural father, and he was an actual professor at a university. So extremely educated, but he was actually poor. And the rich dad was his friend Mike's father. And Mike's father dropped out of high school, but eventually became a business owner and became very wealthy. So Robert reflects on the attitudes and the views of his 2 dads as to how he came up with his own views on wealth and eventually became a very successful man. So without further ado, I would like to, as I said, I would like to share with you my top 5 takeaways from reading the book, and I'm going to share number 1 with you right now. Okay, so I will read these just simply so I don't stuff up the quotes. So number 1 is, for the majority of the population, their job is their income and they rely on their job to live. Rich people's income is primarily through assets and investments. So my takeaway from that is, in the instance of the poor, is that, as you said, they rely on their income to live. So they rely on their job to pay their wage in order to pay their bills, to pay their rent, pay their mortgage, pay for their groceries. They trade their time for money in order to live. Whereas on the other hand, for rich people, they rely on their assets and investments to earn their money. So they put in an investment up front, whether it be through their time or through a financial investment, that will actually reap returns long after that initial transaction or that initial work was done. So it's more through a passive means that they are earning their income. So they do something once, whether it buy the property or do work to set a system up, and then they will reap the benefits of that thereafter. They're not continually going day in, day out to a job in order to earn money and earn their income. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, you become what you study. So choose your study materials carefully and read a lot. So in today's day and age, there is so much information out there, and it is very, very easy to let your time just completely fly by studying the wrong stuff, or studying things that aren't going to propel you forward in your, if you have a business, in your business life, or even just as an individual financially. You need to be selective as to what you spend your time doing or have your focus on. So you may have heard the old adage, what you focus on. So what you dedicate your time and energy to is going to be what really grows. And as it also says, is to read a lot. A very, very easy way and cheap way, in my view, to learn and to develop your skills and to develop your knowledge is just purely through reading. Like, it costs sometimes as low as $5 for a book to read and absorb someone else's experience, someone else's knowledge, so that you can then apply it into your own life. So that's number 2. Number 3, surround yourself with winners. Sit with people who are smarter than you and you can learn a lot by surrounding yourself in their company. I think this is an absolute big one, because I'm sure you're very similar to me, and it's nice to be in your comfort zone. It's nice to be around friends and people who you feel very comfortable with, and people who share your own views. The only problem with that, and I'm not saying not to spend time with your family and friends by any means, but if you are wanting to change your situation, if you are wanting to improve things in your life, whether it be financial or otherwise, then you need to immerse yourself, you need to surround yourself, as Robert says, around other people who are like-minded, so that you can then leverage off their insight, you can leverage off their experiences and what they do in order to develop that state that you want to get to. So you may have heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Well, it is true. In the case, for example, if you spend a lot of time with negative people, you are going to be negative. But on the flip side, if you spend a lot of time with really positive, uplifting, encouraging, supportive people, you are going to be positive. You are going to be successful having these people to prop you up. So that is a really big one. Number 4 is, one dad had a habit of saying, "I can't afford it." The other dad forbade those words to be used. He insisted I ask, "How can I afford it?" One is a statement and the other is a question. One lets you off the hook and the other forces you to think. So that just demonstrates that it is just so important how you phrase your perceived problem as to what kind of solution you're going to arrive at. So with the statement, in terms of saying, I can't, for example, I can't do this, I've got too much work on, I just can't achieve it, that's a statement. Whereas if you say, how can I achieve this workload? Then you start to broaden your horizon, you start to think outside the box, and it motivates you to actually come to a solution rather than just outright throw your hands up in the air and say that it's just too hard. And lastly, number 5, pay yourself first. Every month, invest set amount of money into assets to generate income before pay bills. If money is tight, use pressure to motivate you to generate more cash. I don't know about you, but for me, number 5 is what really changes my mindset from being that of an employee to an entrepreneur. And I'll explain why that is. As an employee, I knew that I could rely on being paid each month, irrespective of what the amount of work was that I had done in that month. By no means am I saying that I was slack or anything. I certainly did as much as I could and to the best of my ability. But I knew that if I did have a bit of a slow day or a slack day or didn't get as much work done as I wanted to, I still had that same, I knew what I was still going to be paid when I got my paycheck. Very different as an entrepreneur. If you are in the entrepreneur space, you know that if you don't put in the work, then you're not guaranteed to get paid. You're not guaranteed to earn your income that week or month. And so this really brings it home to me that, look, if I feel that I can't, or something isn't going to be achieved, or that there's something that I want, but I'm not going to be able to do it because of my financial situation, rather than saying, okay, I can't do it because I haven't got the money, rather use that, the fact that I don't have the money, as motivation to work even harder to make it so that it is possible, so that I can do whatever it is that I want to do. Use that as motivation rather than just saying it's just too hard. So there you have my 5 top takeaways from Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I hope you have found this valuable. If you have read Robert's fantastic book, then I do welcome you to put in your own takeaways into the comments below. If you haven't read it yourself, I strongly recommend that you read it. Even if you're not a business owner, it is such a fantastic, useful book for anyone to improve their financial situation. Again, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please do give me a thumbs up and feel free to share it with your networks. Share it with your friends and family who might benefit from what I've discussed today. So thank you again, and until I see you on my next video, I hope you take the greatest of care.